Part two of the video. In the beginning, when I first transplanted everything, they were yellowing a lot. I think the fish emulsion, as well as cow manure slash compost that I added, as well as the rainwater, got them green and vibrant again. But they were all fighting for nutrients. And again, cantaloupe, high water content fruit is going to pull a lot of nutrients to produce itself. So I'm just like, yeah, no, I shouldn't have did that. I made the same mistake with my okra. I had 3 different okra pods grown in one container that was about the same depth as that container, but it was slightly a bit rounder and wider. And I only produced 1 okra. Why? Because all of these different okra plants was fighting for nutrients from the same soil. So if you're doing a container garden, please limit how many, like, if you got to buy more pots, so go buy more pots. If you got to be creative and buy stuff from Dollar Tree like I did, let me show you an example, and drill holes in it. Do what you got to do, but certain things can't share space and still produce. This is pretty good size. It supports and can support herbs. So certain things are good for certain things, but certain things are not good for everything. So I mean, if you haven't started it yet, you'll learn as you go. If you're a beginner like me, you're learning as you're going. So I did this, but I won't do it again. And then this is another cantaloupe in here. I wanted to experiment how it would grow in a 5-gallon bucket. And so far it's had no yellowing issues like this one did, because it doesn't have to compete for nutrients. It's getting it. At least once a month I try to water it with fish emulsion, but I mean, it really depends. I don't just give it to it. I let them ask. And they'll start to yellow, or they'll start to brown, or they'll start to look not as vibrant. So you'll notice. You just got to pay attention. This is some ginger that's finally sprouting up. I think I planted it about 2 weeks ago, 2.5. And it was ginger that I had purchased that it was just sitting there for a long time. And it was starting to have these small stubby sprouts. So I planted them. Here's a okra. That's my star okra right there. It experienced some transplant shock, but they did okay. And that's another thing, when you're transplanting plants, it's best to do it in the evening when the sun is down. And after you've transplanted them, you kind of want to do this. Let me show you, because I just transplanted tomato the day before yesterday. So I could show you better than I could tell you. Walking barefoot. Okay, so that right there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's a cantaloupe, but it could be possibly okra. I don't know. Some things I'm not going to find out what they are until they start fruiting. But it looks more like an okra than a cantaloupe. So I'm going to just say more likely it's okra. This is tomato that I just put here this rising, probably about 45 minutes before making this video. And these tomatoes I had planted or transplanted the other day. So what you want to do is you want to keep them in a location that gets little to no sun. Because if you transplant something and then you just throw it in the sun, it's going to wither. It's going to drop. The leaves are going to drop all the way down and look lifeless, because it cannot really take the heat of that sun right away. So for 7 days, keep it away from the sun. And then when you put it in the sun, it'll be strong enough to stand in the sun without withering. Moving on. Sweet peppers. They're still small, but I'll transplant them fairly soon, maybe in about 2 weeks, depends. But they've been doing better than I expected. These 2 haven't come up, but that doesn't mean nothing's happening under the soil. Some things take longer to germinate. My neighbor had some tires sitting on her lot, so I'm like, hey, can I use those? So these are cantaloupe. This cantaloupe's doing freaking fantastic. This one, she has suffered, but she's healing herself well, because these leaves that you see right here was not there just 2 days ago. I swear, your garden will transform overnight. Your seedlings will have growth spurts overnight. It is beautiful to witness. These are some green onion that I should have been started clipping from, so I'll do that today. Because yeah, they are ready to be used at this point. I might add them to my spaghetti, I'm not sure. Grapes. Crossing my fingers with this blue bin right here, please. Hoping that grows. Citrus. Okay, so I made a big mistake with this. This was an orange seed that Asad planted, and he kind of just left it there. So I took it and I tried to tend to it. I transplanted it for him, put it in proper soil because citrus is native to Asia. So no, you can't just dig up soil in your backyard and just plant a seed because some of the seeds you're planting is not native to the soil you're trying to plant it in. So you need proper soil. Also, each plant, like I said, that little that trinity of nutrients it needs with the nitrogen and the phosphate or potassium or whatever it is, it needs a certain acidity level. Certain plants, you know what I'm trying to say? Like every dirt ain't for every plant. Some things that grow here in Florida, I have not seen in Boston or Georgia when I lived there. So everything ain't native to everywhere. You cannot just stick something in a certain soil and think it's gonna do well. No. So I planted it in its proper soil, but then I put fertilizer. There's a particular citrus fertilizer. Also, can't just use regular fertilizer with citrus. And I'm learning all of this. I mean, it's a journey. It's a beautiful journey that requires lots of patience, lots of consistency, and a lot of dedication because you can get discouraged, especially as a new person. Like I was ready to just let everything die and not even tend to it no more in the beginning because I get or used to get discouraged very easily. But I just kept going with it, and I'm gonna keep going with it until I figure it out. So yeah, it can get a little discouraging, but you just need to pay the garden attention. It will communicate with you. You will notice things. You will notice. They talk. They don't talk English, but they talk. Your papa le creole, but they talk. So yeah. Yeah, the citrus I hurt her really bad because I put the fertilizer that I bought instead at the bottom of the pot. I put it at the top of the soil. And just like with fish emulsion, if you use too much of it, it can rot or burn the roots. So that fertilizer was actually not supposed to come in contact with the plant at all. It was supposed to be way at the bottom, I guess like what you put first. And then you add your soil, then you add your plant. And what would happen is over time, that nutrients would just break down into the soil. So it burnt my plant. So that citrus, although it's green, I had to transplant it and get it out of the soil that had the fertilizer. Now this baby right here, she burnt up. But I'm hoping she can heal herself because she still has strong roots. So nature is phenomenal in that way. She's magical in that way. And I know she can heal herself. If she doesn't want to, then she'll just leave and she'll come back as a new, I think that was it's a citrus tree, kumquat. She'll just come back as a new kumquat. So this is another bin. It's the biggest bin that I have. I have 2 of these. And these are watermelon seeds. So this one, I know it looked hurt and it looked injured. I thought it was, but no, it's just starting to get heavy. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go get some garden stakes from Home Depot, stick it right in the soil, and then tie it around it and wrap it. What I tend to use is this. I'll rip some of these off. I mean, it usually comes out longer than that, but I'll clean off the leaves. Oh, that sun. Oh, Lord. Get out the sun. Ooh, not Lord, out of my eye. That sun's serious. Right in my eyes, the phone glaring. So yeah, I use this to tie it right around the plant. And please don't mistake that. I can take the sun. Yes, I love the sun. But when it's in your eyes, reflecting and beaming from the phone, that really hurts your eyes. And you just got to clear that up because you know how people are. So yeah, this is some stuff back here that ain't start sprouting. Like this right here particularly. That's a mango that I just planted maybe 2 days ago. But mangoes, I mean, they take years to germinate. So, to start sprouting. So I would figure their germination rate is slow. I did get one to sprout back in 2015 within 2 weeks. But my energy was much different back then. So we'll see what happens. This is this. I don't know what that is. We'll figure it out when it comes up. Oh, it's supposed to be squash. Okay. Okay, that's good. I thought I didn't label it. That's squash. This hasn't come up. This is coming up, but I have no idea what it is. So we'll discover that with the journey as it goes. Again, don't know what this is. This is a sage plant. I actually honestly didn't ever think this plant was going to get this big. When I planted it, it was very tiny for a long, long time. And it was the only surviving sage seed out of all the other seeds I planted. That was the only survivor. This, don't know what it is. But it's doing okay. And it also looks like two different things growing in this soil. This one looks like tomato. And this one looks like citrus. So I don't know what's going on there. But I'll transplant them. Those not coming up, but they just got planted within this week. One of them, the one to the furthest left, right there, is mango. All right, with this side, this is where I had the herbs that were in the kitchen. But I mean, yeah, there's that great big bin right there, that bin I was making use of. Yeah. So let me take you inside so that you can see the I mean, I wasn't going to show my container garden at first, and I did it at first, but because things are sprouting pretty well, I decided to, but I'm like, don't count your eggs before they hatch. I have no food producing yet, so I wanted to keep it away. But some house plants, I got about 13 or 14 house plants. I love houseplants. That's actually something that I was raised with. But yeah, succulent, not doing well. Didn't know how to care for a succulent. It was my first time. But I'm realizing it's part of the yellow family. They don't like too much water and they like plenty of sun. But then again, not too much because they started burning. And none of my windows really get direct sun for long periods of time. So that's been hard, to navigate around that. We got cilantro's here sprouting up throughout that. That is sage sprouting in those little cups. These three I particularly bought from Home Depot, and I transplanted them into these pots that I bought from Dollar Tree. So we have here spearmint, and then we have here sweet mint, and then we have sweet basil. Now, let me tell you, they look good and green, but they're drying out, and I don't know what's causing it. I mean, I've brought them from inside to outside, inside to outside. I don't know what to do with them anymore. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick them. I'm going to dry them, and I'm going to make tea with the mint, and then I'm going to just use that in my cooking, because if I try to fight to keep it alive, they're just going to, we have some browning going on here, and it wasn't like that when I bought it. So I'm just going to dry them out before it's too late and use them for tea. This right here that's sprouting is sweet basil, my own sweet basil I planted. And those are also sweet basil and something else. These are the only three right here, 1, 2, 3, that I purchased from Home Depot, already sprouted and transplanted. I just wanted to try it out. Because I had contemplated doing that with certain things, but I'm kind of enjoying the process of growing it myself from seed. Yeah. And then there's some soil here, as well as, there's cocoa peat. There's the citrus / cactus family, the soil that's good for that. And then some manure / compost at the bottom. And then here, these are the 5-gallon buckets that I'm using from Home Depot. Just $4. Some tomato cages I got from Aldi for when the tomatoes get a little bigger. Could use it for other things too, but that was $2 a piece. I think there's about 8 or 9 of them. And then just some simple containers I got from Dollar Tree that you could drill holes in. And these can support grape tomatoes or cherry tomatoes and flowers. And then my babies aren't doing the best here, but I have my fern in the center, good air purifier, and needs lots of sun, but doesn't need the most water. Aloe doesn't need much water at all. You could literally water it once a month. And then that over there, that's a succulent. It's doing pretty well, and that succulent's not doing well. It's just as bad as the one in the kitchen. And then I have some other bins that I bought for like $5 from Walmart. But yeah, these buckets, right? They're like mop buckets. You could get these for $1 from Dollar Tree and use them to support grape and cherry tomatoes. This big bin, like the one that's outside that got the watermelon in it, I mean, this was only $12.59. It was on sale. And then, remember, these could also be used to catch water. You just drill holes in them and you put the top on and the water will fall right in. So you don't have to think, oh, you have to have a particular, because you might not have gutters, or you might not have the money for rain saucer, and you might not even have the space. So one thing I like about the trash bucket thing is that it kind of masks in on the property, and it just looks like we have a trash bucket there. It's not questionable, you know, instead of having all that other stuff on land that's not even ours. But then these smaller bins, they start from here and it ends here. It was about $5. I got 2 of them from Walmart. So that might be able to support so many things. It can support, so many things. I can transplant like 2 or 3 okra plants in them because they're spacious enough. Versus trying to put 2-3 okra plants in a smaller bucket that won't support them nutrients-wise. And then they'll have less space to take root. So that's another issue if your bin is too small. But yeah, that's that. I kind of wanted to just show that. I hadn't shown my little gardening journey yet. I was waiting, and I was hesitant also because, again, I'm not going to sit here and show you my seedlings that are trying to grow, if they're not even producing, because I don't have a garden, if there's no food really to show you. But they're much bigger, they're much healthier looking, they're much more alive. And I guess, wow, that's pretty. I didn't mind, showing it. Just to let people know, if you haven't started yet, and if you're working with little space, do what you got to do. I mean, I didn't have the space either. That's another bin that I could even plant something else in that I left back here. But yeah, you don't need a lot of space. We're, in a mobile home community / trailer park, and the homes probably about, 10, 12 feet apart, if you do this and you press it up against the home, then you will still have some lot space if you need that space. But if you're a renter too, and that's your concern and why you haven't started, because I know plenty of people that use that as an excuse, it's like, well, with the container garden, you can't go wrong, because when you're moving, you can just pick it up and go. You know what I'm saying? So, don't let nothing stop you. Try. At least try. I know I planted a lot of stuff, but I should have did one thing, mastered that one thing, and then graduated to a second. It's just I was overexcited. But I recommend planting one thing and focusing on it, and then doing another, because this stuff could get a little expensive too. You got to get proper soil for the proper thing you're trying to grow. Everything is not going to grow in the same soil. Certain things like sandy soil, certain things like light, fast draining soil. And then there's those things that can grow through soil that got rocks and wood chips in it. You can't force a plant to grow in an environment that it doesn't like. So you have to cater to your plant, do some little light research, on the plant. Watch videos of other people share their experience and, go from there. Don't try to force the plant to grow where it doesn't want to grow. And yeah, you should have some success. I'm willing this little container garden the best. I put a lot of time, energy, finance, care into it. So I hope that because of that it flourishes, but I'll keep you posted and I'll let you know when everything is actually producing. That's the next time you'll see it. It's when there's actually some watermelon, actually some cantaloupe. you know. But yeah, if you watched it all the way through, thank y'all so much. 13 love, and tune in to part 1 if you haven't gotten the chance to see it. It should be uploaded before this video. So yeah, let me know if y'all figure out a way to collect water for particularly bathing and drinking. This is just for my plants, but I want to figure out a way to do it real cheap like that. But if you figure out a way to prevent more debris from getting into your water, whether you're using a screen porch screen, you know, type of thing, or a window screen, like whatever you do, like share that, because I want to know, you know. Thank y'all so much. 13 love. Peace out.